Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to learn algebra. Today is our lesson number 179. Day 179, we are in the process of solving word problems from day 101 to 200, and today is our 79th day of solving a word problem. The problem for today is already on the blackboard. I'm going to read it to you. It says product of three consecutive numbers. So we have three consecutive numbers, and their product their product is what we are discussing here. The product of three consecutive numbers, of which G is the greatest. G is the greatest, and their product, the product of three consecutive number, equals 5 times their sum. 5 times their sum. The question simply is, what is the average of these three numbers? That's all. What's the average of these three consecutive numbers? And now, because they're consecutive, for example, 1, 2, 3, they're consecutive. They don't have to be exactly consecutive, because they are equally spaced. The average of three numbers that are equally spaced is the middle number. So here, when they say what is their average, that's just a very fancy way, very annoying way of saying what's the middle number. In other words, what's the number that comes before G? G is the greatest, and there are three of them. That's all. For example, if we had 12, 15, and 18, they are equally spaced. 12 plus 3 is 15, 15 plus 3 is 18. Because they are equally spaced, the average of these three numbers is the middle one. That's all. As long as they are equally spaced, it would work. 7, 17, and 27, again they are equally spaced. The average of these three numbers is 17. So in our case, since they are consecutive numbers, therefore the average of whatever the three numbers happen to be, their average is going to be whatever is in the middle. So that's what they're asking, what is the middle number? So let's get going then. Pause the video if you like, solve it yourself, and then continue watching it after you have done the problem yourself. Here's the solution. We know that we have three consecutive numbers. We know that because we are told that three consecutive numbers. We also know that G is the greatest. So let's start our story with G. If G is the greatest, and because they are consecutive numbers, the one before that is going to be one less than that. The one before G is going to be one less than G, because they're consecutive. This is 8, this is 7, and so forth. If this is 28, this is 27. If this is 101, this is 100. You get the idea. And the one before this one is going to be even one less than this guy. One less than G minus 1 is G minus 2. There you go. So those are the three numbers. If the greatest one is G, G minus 1, and G minus 2. What do we know? We know that their sum equals the product of three consecutive number equals, okay, so their product of these three numbers, G minus 2, G minus 1, and G, their product equals 5 times their sum. 5 times their sum. So let's find out. 5 times their sum. Their sum is going to be, the very first one is G minus 2, the next one is G minus 1, and the biggest one, the greatest one, is G. That's it. Now we have a simple linear equation. All we have to do is solve for G. No, actually I take it back. I take that back. It is not a simple linear equation, as I just said. It is far from being linear. We'll find out in a second what exactly it is, okay? It's not linear because these G's are being multiplied. Let's get going then. Again, I think it's a good idea for you to solve it yourself. See what happens before you continue watching it. It's always a good idea. The very first thing we should do is simplify this guy. So 5 times G minus 2, G minus 1, and G. As you can clearly see, we have 3 G's. A G, plus a G, plus a G, and then plus a G. So we have 3 G's. Minus We have a negative 2 here, and then we have a negative 1 here. A negative 2 and a negative 1 is going to give us negative 3. What do you find common here? Between this term and this term, do you find anything common? Do they have any common factor? Because if they do, that common factor needs to be taken out. I see a common factor of 3. Let's take out this 3 common. So we end up with 5 times 3, and then if you take out 3 from here, we are left with g, and if you take out 3 from here, we are left with 1. As you can clearly see, if you were to open the parenthesis, this parenthesis, we'll get 3 times g, which is right here, and then minus, right here, minus 3 times 1, which is your 3 right here. So that's what we have. We have 15 times g minus 1. And on this side we have g minus 2 times g minus 1 times g. What do you see? I see g minus 1 on both sides. So if you were to divide both sides of the equation by g minus 1, this g minus 1 drops out. There we go. That's it. We are almost getting there. So what we have here is, I don't have to rewrite it, but I'm going to rewrite it anyway, just so it's easy for you to see. We have g minus 2 times g equals 3 minus 5, and you will see why in a second why I wrote this as. You will see in a second why I wrote this as 3 times 5 as opposed to 5 times 3. Because, as you can clearly see, g minus 2, this is 2 less than this guy, g minus 2 is this guy. And then therefore your g is 5. G is 5 and 5 minus 2 is 3. There you go. So now we know the greatest number. The greatest number was g, and g happens to be 5. So the 3 numbers are, the 3 consecutive numbers are, the greatest one is g, which we just found is 5. The one before that is going to be g minus 1, which is going to be 4. And then the one before that is going to be g minus 2, which is going to be 3. And the question simply was, what is their average? What is their average? Because these numbers are equally spaced, 3, 4 and 5, of course they are equally spaced because they are consecutive numbers. Because they are equally spaced, the average of these 3 numbers is going to be the middle number. The answer is 4. 4 is their average. What is their average? The answer is 4. Right here, the answer is 4. Voila. That's it. We are done. That's all there is. Very simple, very straightforward. I will see you tomorrow on day number 180, where we'll do one more problem dealing with 3 consecutive, not 3 consecutive number, but 3 consecutive even number or 3 consecutive odd number, which is a different ball game, which is a different story than simple 3 consecutive numbers. But anyway, we'll do that tomorrow. I'll see you on day number 180. Alright? Bye.